Okay, everything seems to be working. Cool, 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 cool. Send out the tweet. Right, right. Let's have a quick check to check how my my stream's going. Okay, we're just gonna test in the voice between this one and this one. Test in the voice between this one and this one. Cool, you can hear me. Right. How is everyone? How is everyone? Hope everyone's doing well. I'm doing great. Woke up today feeling like I have tons and tons of energy. Combine that with having a pretty decent day at work, and I'm ready to do whatever I can today. Well, I'm gonna turn this to like here, just so that it doesn't peak at all. Anyway, today we're going to be playing more of Disfigure, which I realise sounds very much like it's going to be a horrendous game, but actually in the scheme of things, it's like you'd expect it to be like a horror game or some form of like proper gruesome game. But in the scheme of things, it's honestly quite like there's the scary part of the shadows being the enemies, but honestly in the scheme of things, not too bad. Quickly go into it. So, new weapon was added. Railgun. I've given it one go, had a ton of fun with it, and went, I'm going to play that on stream. That's what we'll be doing today. I also added an easy mode, which I really appreciate because, you know, having an easy mode is never a bad thing. The amount of times I've played a game on easy, I've been so thankful they've had something like that. Has been a lot. It's too much to count, honestly. Anyway, as you can see, it shoots like piercing shots, but it shoots like 4 and then it has to reload, which is quite interesting. This is one of the new abilities, so I'll take it. So you shoot a guy, and it summons a laser, and the laser follows your cursor, which I normally don't like these ones because I'm very bad at like aiming my cursor at enemies I'm not already going to kill because of the thing. But I've found that this one, especially the later abilities, have actually been quite useful. To take some ricochet, because I love ricocheting for my AoE. Anyway, let's talk about my week. Honestly, not a huge week, and sadly, honestly, because of us having to cancel our D&D game. I don't even have D&D to tell you about, sadly. But a lot of stuff has happened. So for one, obviously Monday we played some. What did we play? We played some Diablo. I think it was Diablo last time, and I had one big event, which was blimmin'. I sent out a tweet to get people to, you know, into my just a tweet saying I can't wait to play Diablo. You know, just a simple one I send about like 15 to 20 minutes before I start. Put the hashtags in that made sense. So I put hashtag Diablo. Blimmin' the official Diablo Twitter actually replied to me. It's insane, and it's not as if like the tweet had blown up or something. It still got the same amount of views they normally get for like a video that I've hashtagged, which is like 20 views. Like not nearly to the level of like any of their tweets would ever get. There was an argument to say that this isn't jazz. I'm saying that because I'm like, is this jazz? But look, I go with what this says, and this says lo-fi jazz, so it's jazz. You know what? Maybe actually, I'm gonna put that in the thing. I'm gonna put that in the thing. Lo-fi. Boom. That makes sense. So then people can't get at me for it being lo-fi jazz, because it's like, well, look at the thing, it says lo-fi jazz. Anyway, that happened, made me incredibly hype. You have no idea how happy I got seeing that reply. For one, actually getting a reply that wasn't one of those bots that was just trying to go, have you seen this, and then a link. Just to get a reply in general, and then the reply to be a reply from literally Diablo. Like, the people who made Diablo, or at least the team that is go for fire rate. At least the team that has been paid to do the social media end of Diablo. I couldn't believe it. But yeah, I got really hyped about that, and then arguably something even better happened on Wednesday. So Tuesday, not much stuff happened really. Played more Diablo. I think I'm getting close to the end of that game. But increasingly I'm finding myself that if I get into if a group of enemies appear, even if they're just basic enemies, I have to properly like get my head down and think about it to beat them a lot of the time. Which isn't bad. I've actually found the bosses to be the easiest part of that game, weirdly. Because there was a boss I was fighting, and effectively, all it felt like they did was they do a slash in front of them, and then they do a breath weapon in front of them. Now I'm going to say multi-shot. I may come to regret this. So they do an attack in front of them, and then they do an attack, and then they move to where you are and do like a breath weapon, but you can see it coming in front of them. And then they do a move to the other side that does damage if you're within where the move would be. And that was it. So if you just dodged whenever they did a move, which you would had enough time to do, at least I did, you never had a real problem. At least I never had a real problem with it. So yeah, it's been a bit weird that the bosses are seemingly the easiest bit for me. But yeah, Tuesday was completely normal. I was probably still blimmin' beaming after what happened on Monday with the blimmin' Twitch reply thing. And then I actually something even bigger happened, because one of my long-term goals for streaming was that I'd love it if I could get somebody, literally anybody, that isn't here to either sell me something or is one of my friends, to come into the chat and talk to me. You know, that kind of stuff would be like, oh, I'm actively making a new friend. You know, that's kind of what I started doing this for. It's just to actively have, you know, to gain more friends. Make a chill environment. And it actually happened on Wednesday. I was doing my Rogue Trader stream and somebody actually joined. It was huge. Like, it's insane to me, because it's like, I imagine for that person it was just a normal day, right? But just having that kind of, having somebody appear was incredible. Especially because I gotten really jaded, especially early on. I got really jaded in the it would never happen, because early on, until I literally put into my first time chatter like rules text about this, they would come in every blimmin' every stream, literally every stream, and they'd be like, hey, how you doing? And you're like, oh, they're gonna be nice, and then you talk to them and they'd be like, at least I started to become jaded, because I was look at it and go, oh, I know now that what you're actually doing is you're just trying to sell me something. And then immediately they'd be like, either they'd be like, hey, could you follow me on Twitter? I followed you. Or they'll be like, they'd be like, hey, I've got a bunch of ideas for cool overlays that you could have. And it got, believe me when I say, it got annoying. More than annoying, it got draining, right? So after knowing about that, and then to have somebody come in here and genuinely just want to talk about the game, well, it was great. It was absolutely great to say, hey, my short-term goal, it's done. That's happened now. And I now can start working on the next goal, which I haven't even thought about what it is. I guess the next goal is to have somebody do that regularly. You know, to have somebody who, because I've turned off my ability to see who's watching, and I used to also, it's gonna sound pathetic, but I used to also have another tab open with the streamer open, and I would use that to make sure that I had at least one viewer, right? I've stopped looking at my viewer count, and I've also stopped doing that. So I've got no idea how many people watch unless they chat. And so just the idea that I could have somebody who's a regular that regularly believes that they can, this place is safe enough for them to talk in, and that they would want to talk in, is huge. That's my next goal. And so to have that goal achieved was great. It also helped that it was the Rogue Trader stream, which I'll be honest is probably my favorite stream. It's close. It's either that one or the stream I get to do with Baronzar, just because he's such a good friend. And I was getting to like the conclusion of an act as well. That was it. You know, it all like added up together and made that an incredible experience. That's definitely my top experience at this point. Also, I got a follow out of it, which was huge. Like, especially early on, people have no idea how much just following and effectively saying, you know, without any words, saying, I value what you're doing here. They have no idea how much that validates people. Or like, it just makes it feel great. Less damage, less fire rate. I don't know if I want to go for that. So yeah, it's that was incredible. And then we got to Thursday, which effectively most of the days after streams are just me chilling out and sort of resting. Which I know, it's like, oh wait, all you're doing is blimmin' streaming. You're just playing a game, you don't need to rest. But I don't know, it is draining to me. Well, I'm so surprised when people like Onyx can they can play for like 10 hours. It's insane to me. I don't think I could do that. I think 5 is probably my upper limit. And even then, that's pushing it a bit close. But yeah, Thursday, not much happened, and then Friday we completed the Dawn of War Chaos Rising campaign, which was fun. It was definitely, I mentioned this in a tweet, but it's definitely a bit, I don't know, it's a bit, what's the word I'm trying to think of? Tell you what, I'm going to turn this down because it's a bit loud. What was the, I guess it's a bit, in my opinion, it's a bit short, a bit like rushed. Like it very much felt like what happens when a TV show has a series and they're trying to get their series is doing well, and then something happens that are like, hey, you've got like 3 episodes left and then it has to be finished, and it's just them rushing through the story they want to get through without giving it the time that it should have. That felt like what it. I don't know if I want this. I'll take a. Do I take that? Shrapnel. That was a bit of a glitch, but it was constantly doing the thing, but oh well. Constantly making that noise, but oh well. But yeah, it definitely needs. I think it needs a bit more time. At least that's my opinion. But yeah, it was still fun nonetheless. A lot of the mechanics they added, like the reason why I think it needs more time is because it was a fun campaign. The whole idea of like, you can go chaos and it gives you improvement, but if you like, you're going to chaos, or you can stay loyalist and you will have to take this special gear that just effectively makes you like worse in combat. Like it makes you worse in some variety. Is a very interesting mechanic that I don't mind. So yeah, it was fun, and we've sort of been debating what we're going to be playing next, and it's still in talks, but we'll see if we play. I doubt we'll play the other campaign because it's worse quality. It's very much what you'd call like a cookie cutter campaign, in the sense that like it is made that, I think I'm using that phrase right, it is made to sort of slot in any of the races that you choose, but because of it, it means that you actually don't get a lot of the like, it's not unique to them in any capacity. You can do it as the Tyranids, but you can also do it as the Orcs, and it'd be exactly the same, you know. So yeah, it's a bit, it's fine once or twice. I mean, you can, yeah. I don't rate it too highly. But yeah, so we played some of that on Friday, and that was really fun. A lot of big things happened this last week, actually, which is quite interesting. And then the weekend, I've just been sort of relaxing, as I said before, but I've been getting pretty hyped for a couple of things. See, I talked about this ages ago now, but I was getting quite into Brett Ultimus's less damage, less fire rate? No, I don't want less fire rate. This is useless, may as well delete this. Is this the Pierce one? Yeah, it's the Pierce one. We don't care about the Pierce line. And then we'll re-roll, and then I'll take this. But yeah, the one that got me into him, into his like channel, was the Lost Mines of Phandelver hardcore campaign, which was effectively like, hey, I'm going to try and kill you with these characters, to the point where we've sort of streamlined to a certain extent the way you make characters. But the way I'm going to go about that is by mostly sticking to this module, adding occasional challenges, but your characters will be weaker than the average character in D&D. And so you just have the situation, at least you did with Lost Mines, where for at least the first couple sessions, it's just constant death. Because a goblin can just look at you the wrong way and you're dead. You know, it's when you're level 1, you got like 7 health. So it's very interesting. It was very interesting to watch, because you get really into these characters and then they just be gone the next episode, and you just be like, that would be part of the legacy. It's actually it was so popular, that one. I didn't realize this when I started it, but like if you look at, there's a Christmas cinematic they did for Baldur's Gate, and they go into the famous inn in Baldur's Gate. I forget its name. I forget what it's called. Is it the Yawning Portal? I think it's called the Yawning Portal. And if you go in there, they have a bunch of like D&D parties from famous D&D products. And one of them is that group from Lost Mines, or at least the group at that current time. Which was really fun to see in hindsight after the fact. But yeah, it was really fun, and it got me really into these players that I didn't realize were unintentionally, like most of them were regulars. And so it kind of gave me like a stepping stone into his whole sort of his like interconnected world that he makes normally for the world of IO. And he's announced, well, I say announced, he did like a community post on YouTube about Lost Mines, not Lost Mines, sorry, a hardcore series using a module, but like taking it to the next level, adding like Fear and Hunger style parts to it, and like features into it. Fear and Hunger being like a quite well-known, very hard like RPG game, quite devastating, and it's known for having the biggest like meme to show how scary it is that your save points are a flip of the coin. You try and save, it's a flip of the coin. If you fail, you don't have the save point. You fail to get the save point. That's the kind of place it is. And so have them do more of those, it feels like that will be really cool. Okay, I can kind of see how the Doombolt thing works, because it now visually changes when I kill. It's kind of cool. Anyway, I'm really looking forward to that, and it's going to be with different people, so I'm interested to see who they have. Because I've only finished the earlier stuff, and of the earlier stuff, it's only the Goblins of Io, which is one of his series. Yeah, it's series, it's just not series. And a bit of the Misdemeanor, and that's it. So I'm really interested to see who these people are, and I'm assuming they're regulars on his other campaigns, but that I don't know of. Well, I don't know if I don't know of them. You know, I mean, it could be, but it's completely different people. It's not going to be those people. So I'm hoping it'll have the same sort of feel, and that the people coming into it have the same understanding that don't get attached to any character that you have to have when you're going into those kinds of things. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. And it didn't do an announcement of it, so it could be next month, it could be, you know, next year, but that really got me hyped. Another thing that I have to watch that, I mean, you can't not have seen if you're on Twitch, because it feels like Amazon's constantly been trying to get people to watch it, but I need to watch the Fallout thing. This is a greater first explosion on the... Okay. Is increased by 100%. Additionally, creates a large explosion. Bullet flower activates once each burst. Why not? Oh, look at this! Hope it's not making the stream run horrendously, but I absolutely love this. This is what made me want to play it, is doing this. I'd be interested to see how this works on the second map, because the second map's notoriously harder. In fact, I don't think I've ever completed the second map. That could be a complete lie, because I could have done it on stream, but... But yeah, it's, I need to watch the Fallout series. I've heard very good things about it, though. So it's definitely on my list. Maybe for tomorrow or something. I'm hoping they do well, because video game adaptations are like... I think they're arguably the hardest thing that they've had the hardest problem doing, without making them just comedically bad. Think back to like the Mortal Kombat movies and stuff, and you're like, those ones, what would happen with those is it would just be comedic with how bad it is. And that feels like it's a running theme. I guess you can make an argument that, like, I think Sonic is a video game first, so it would be a video game adaptation. And the Mario movie wasn't bad. So recently they've been doing okay. But having like a TV series in the Fallout world, I mean, it's one of those ones where there's wacky stuff, but it's not like, say, the One Piece bloomin' live action, where like you've got in such wacky things that I have no idea how they're gonna make them. This one, it's like there is a decent amount of stuff you can do to ground it in just reality. I want to continue. I want to see how far I can get. You know, because it's like, at the end of the day, the average person is just a human in like a suit. Well, not even a suit, in like Mad Max style armor, but like not to the like weirdness of Mad Max. Effectively what the main character Max is in Mad Max. And so you can do a lot of stuff like that. And so it'd be interesting to see. I know that they've got a ghoul character in it, which I can understand how they do that, because again, it's just sort of like a face paint thing with that one. It's not like with One Piece where you've got to make a fish person who in the show is like a foot, like, you know, is a person plus, you know, plus a half over an average person's like height. Reroll. Bullet speed, I don't think that's useful. This might be useful because it ups my... You know what? Let's take it. It increases my bullet damage if worst comes to worst. But yeah, it makes sense to just face paint instead of having to make somebody, you know, completely inhuman while still being human, like they have to do in One Piece live action. So it makes sense for them to do it, and it's always been I think it's always been a cool setting to do your own thing with. Do you know, a lot of people, when they get access to the product, they do kind of what they did with the Halo franchise, where they just go, I know I'm supposed to be making it for this world, but I have another idea for this character, and so I'm going to sort of take him in my direction, and normally it doesn't make the hardcore fans that happy when they take what is, you know, your favorite character, say Master Chief, and turn them into what they don't think it is him based on the video games. But with Fallout, at the end of the day, like, if you stick to the setting, you can set something if you wanted to. I don't think they did this, but you could set it in a different country and it wouldn't matter at all about half the things in Fallout. You could set something in just one of the countries, one of the states we haven't been in, because we haven't been in a lot of the states. We've been in, like, I guess maybe 6 or 7 because of DLCs and all that, but even then it'll just be a part that we went to in a DLC, not a full world. So yeah, it's you can sort of, it's sort of a world more than it's a world more than it's like a character, which I think helps them a decent amount in this context. So I can see how it would be very useful to do. Also, you add in like the Vault Tech and all the stuff that you can do there, and people are really into the whole, you know, the Black Mirror style, like dark fantasy. Like, what if like a scientist with no morals get to do whatever they want? And literally that's what the vaults are. So it's one of those things where it's like you can do whatever you want with that sort of IP. And I think generally the people, the hardcore fans will never be happy, but the general people, like the general, like, decent fans who aren't hardcore, they'll probably be fine with whatever you come out with, that as long as it sticks to the established lore of that world. Because the character in that has always just been you. It's always been the courier, you know, or like the chosen one, effectively. Like Skyrim, they could do the same thing with Skyrim. Just make the Dragonborn, but you don't even need to do the Dragonborn. People only know about the Dragonborn because that's the one that I think sent it to new heights. Like, I'm pretty sure that the other games, you know, the Oblivion, things like that, I can't remember the other ones, didn't actually have you as the Dragonborn. I think you would, like, maybe considered the chosen one in a couple of them, but at the end of the day, you weren't, like, chosen by blood and you have a special ability a lot of the time. I could be completely wrong there, because the only other Elder Scrolls game I played is I played like 20, maybe 40 minutes of Oblivion, and I didn't like the main mechanic of, like, you level up your running by just, you know, running, but the fact that that has influence on, like, combat levels for the enemies, I just didn't really like. I'm a kind of like a big believer in static, what's the word? I guess, like, static leveling, for lack of a better word, in the sense that if I'm playing your game, I want to be in a situation where there was a chance I just meet something that's so much more higher level than me. And I just have to leave and not fight that thing anymore because I can't beat it, right? I don't want to be in a situation where everything just scales to be around my level. I want to be able to go back to a place that, like, is the starting area and just completely dominate everything. And that's like the complete antithesis of what the point of the Elder Scrolls games is, from what I can see. Because in the Elder Scrolls games, from what I can gather from Skyrim, is everything has like a base level that it's at. So I take like the giants, for example. The giants have a base level of power. I could take this, but it lowers my fire rate. Otherwise, I could take this and just have it shoot more before it dies. I'm going to do a reroll. I could do this. Make the radiation even bigger. Other than that, I could have wildfire, but I think I'm fine with what I have now. So yeah, like, from what I can gather, they have a base level. So say a giant is level 35 or something. Have a base level that they are at, and then they scale based on what level you are. So that guy will always be minimum 35. Like, it'll always be a minimum of level 35. But then it gets higher level if you are higher than level 35, so it scales with you. So it'll be, if not your level, it'll be, you know, close to your level, within 5 levels. I don't like that. I want to be in a situation where I've rushed the story missions and I can't fight the next boss because the enemies there are like Draugr that have dragon shouts and are wearing armor that I don't have access to yet because I've just been rushing the main story, and then I have to go out of my way to get better armor to level up by doing some of the lower level quests. And I understand that there's a lot of people who don't like that, and that's literally the reason they start. It's why a couple of games that I appreciate have it as like an option. Like, I was playing a game the other day, I forget what it was, but it was effectively a game in which you made a mercenary group and you sort of are trying to slowly, you know, make sure you're keeping track of all the ooh, my fire rate goes up. Yes, please. Making sure you're keeping track of all the food and water and making sure their morale is good and everything, and that, you know, they're not too injured. But it had a thing of like, do you want static leveling or leveling based on your people? And 100% I want static. You know, I want it to be that if I go into a high level area, then the nobility that have their full plated knights will destroy me. You know, it's one of those situations where it's a difference of opinion, but I just don't like it, especially if it's what they do in Oblivion, which is, and well, they do this in Skyrim as well. They scale it off your level, even if all those levels have gone into crafting stuff. So if you're in a situation where you've put all of your ability points into increasing smithing, increasing enchanting, increasing speech, you know, going a bit more utility, and you're still going around with like the basics of like, you don't have a single ability in like one-handed or two-handed or like magic of any variety. You're stuck there like, oh, I can't complete this mission now because to get through it, all of these enemies have like ebony armor on because I've been focusing on crafting. And they've gotten more powerful because I've leveled up crafting, but I haven't then leveled up in, like, I haven't scaled with them because I've not been focusing on like things that hurt them better. I don't know, it feels like, to me, that's that feels wrong. You know, that feels like a bad thing. So yeah, I'm not a huge fan of those ones. Well, I think it would work perfectly as a setting, going back to the whole Fallout thing. I think Skyrim would also just be good to set something in. Maybe not. Let me rephrase that. I think Elder Scrolls would do well. You know, choose an area, choose a time period. It doesn't really matter if it won't be that big of a problem. One of the things that I have a pet peeve about. So, you know how a lot of like franchises that do really well, after they finish, if they don't keep them going forever, with the main character having to continually fight stronger and stronger opponents, or, you know, trying to find ways around making it so the character isn't just, you know, insta-giving every villain they fight. You know, the World of Warcraft or like the Final Fantasy 14 problem of just like, how do we make a bigger threat? We've already made them the destroyers of the universe kind of thing. If they don't go that way and they instead decide to make like a sequel, my pet peeve is when they don't set them. I didn't even see what killed me there. There's too many lights going up. My pet peeve is when they don't set them far in the future. So my logic here is, and I'm just gonna give me a second. I'm just gonna go get a drink. Oh, got myself a Rubicon. Anyway, my problem with it is I get really into a character. So take I don't know. Obviously, everyone hasn't watched anime, so I'm sorry for the people who haven't watched it. But there's a very famous anime called, well, and manga called Naruto, and the main character is a character called Naruto, and the whole point of it is he tries to become the Hokage. It's all about. I'm not going to go into incredible amounts of detail, but it's effectively superpowers under a thinly veiled thing of actually they're ninjas, but they're not really ninjas because they very quickly just become superpowers. And in that show, really popular. I watched it, started watching it when I was young, and I watched it to the very end. And it was really good. And then they were like, okay, we're gonna make a new one. We're gonna make a new one. We're gonna call it Boruto, and it's gonna be his kid. And immediately, red flag for me, because you've still got Naruto living. So you've got to either find a way of making some MacGuffin that makes him disappear, which is just going to feel like you are making a MacGuffin to make him disappear because he's too powerful, or B, you're going to have to make the main character of your show, who is now Boruto, somehow instantly, within like the first couple chapters, as strong, if not stronger, than his father. Because of that, the power scaling, which in Naruto started off small and then got, over time got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, until eventually he's like he's a ninja Jesus. He's the best of the best, right? Instead, you've got a situation now where your character, it has to start at Ninja Jesus and then has to get better than Ninja Jesus. And as soon as you start at that point, I feel like you're stuck in a bad place for any form of author, Another part of it, and this is the main part where I don't like it, because that's just a nice way of saying it saying it while trying to seem smart, right? The actual reason why I don't like it is because it means you gotta have to make the main character lose, the character that I've grown up with, the character that I love, all the side characters that I've grown to love and you know, I'm really, really fond of. You've got to make them lose as well. And I don't like that, because I've grown up with those characters. I love those characters. And you can easily solve this problem and still have those sequels, which I understand are a necessity, and I'm not saying just stop the sequels, because I know that won't happen. What I'm saying is, instead of stopping the sequels, you just set them a couple generations ahead. As much as I don't like Legend of Korra, the Avatar The Last Airbender sequel, they did one thing right, which I guess they had to do, which was they had to kill off Aang. Because then I never got to see a situation where it's like Aang loses and then Korra appears and she's like, don't worry, I'm stronger than you. Because that would have had to have happened. And they did a good job of making all the characters that were alive from the first show old enough that it made sense why they weren't instantly giving any boss that appeared. I just look. Another pet peeve I have is it happens in both of those as well. Is that you have a situation in those shows where you set stuff in the future by about like 20 years, but they've gone from barely having access to an engine to having effectively a late Renaissance like technology, bordering on like blimmin' modern day, in like bordering on like higher than modern day with some of the like with the Boruto series. There's a dude with a mech suit at one point I saw. Oh gosh, they're talking. So yeah, I don't know. There's one of my pet peeves with it. I know why it's called this Disfigure, and it's a cool name, but I do feel like maybe it puts people off this game, which would be a bit of a shame because I do think it's a very good game. Where do I want to go? Do I want to go heavy AoE? See, I don't think I do, because I think we want to be going damage. Because as you can see, these dudes take a couple more hits than the average enemy. Charged deals... Yeah, why not? We're gonna go electric. Speaking of electric, I saw that they are going off. Well, there's been leaks on the new Pokemon game and what's going to be in it. I'm so glad with what they're doing with that. Obviously, I've got no idea. They haven't gone into a great deal of detail. We don't know like any of the new Pokemon or like any of the new Pokemon or like what the general premise is or anything. But I'm kind of just hoping for a game in which it's sort of, you know, just a really, if I'm being honest, I'm just looking for a good game. A good quality game that doesn't have so many bugs in it like their previous game did. And I had fun with the previous game, but I'm normally like really not noticeable of bugs, and I noticed bugs, which shows to me that you are having a severe problem. If I notice something, you're having a problem. One of my other friends, like if Onyx notices, I'm like, okay, this is probably a problem that people are talking about, but for the general consumer, they probably don't notice. If I notice, I'm like, oh god, it's that bad that even people like me are noticing. So yeah, I'm kind of hoping that they're going back to Mega Evolutions, which I think is their best gimmick that they've ever made, really. With this whole idea of like gimmicks and Dynamaxes and like the Z moves and like what was this one? It was Terra typing, where you were able to like turn your dude into a different type. With all of these additions, most of them have been Dynamaxing was effectively just Mega Evolutions, but everyone could do it, but there were some people whose looked better. Let's go damage. Like Z moves were kind of nothing. What else was there? Dynaxing, Z moves, Terra typing. I'll be honest, I never really used it, except to just get more power on my attacks. So having this be a thing, I think, is a good idea. Going back to Mega Evolutions, which was really, really fun. And the fact that they're having the originals in there means I can still get Venusaur again, who is, you know, the evolutionary line is my favorite because it's the one I started with. I do have a soft spot for Turtwig, though. Turtwig and Torterra. They're probably number 2. It combines my 2 favorite types, grass and ground. I think my favorite types are grass, then ground, then ice. And the only reason I liked ice back in the day was because I was like, how do I beat dragon? Because dragon's overpowered. Oh, ice exists. But yeah, I'm hoping that does well, because, well, I'm hoping it is a good game. Not necessarily that it does well, because it's always going to do well. It's a Pokemon game, you know? They haven't lost all the goodwill yet. But I am kind of hoping that more games like Palworld and stuff come out, because it is very noticeable that if there's competition, companies do better. They realize that they've made a mistake and they realize they can't push people anymore because they're starting to just switch to get other games, and so they start actually putting effort in and not half-assing it. One of my favorite things one of my favorite passions is wrestling. Love wrestling, love watching wrestling. I watch every pay-per-view for WWE. I've always been a WWE fan. And there was this, it was going badly around the 2015, 2016 time. The quality of the product was horrendous. It was incredibly out of touch. It was incredibly boring. And then along came this rival company, obviously because people realized that there was room for it now. People were getting bored. Called AEW, and I don't like AEW. I don't particularly like AEW's stuff, really. It's not really my thing. It's lots of matches that are all about like a lot of flips with them and stuff. Like, and they've got a lot of good names, but there's no story to them. Neither does thing like a story. But even I'm like, thank God it exists, because as soon as AEW started getting the numbers that were comparable to WWE, instantly they started changing their tune. They started taking more risks. They started getting rid of people that had been in one particular position of power for so long that they had gotten jaded and felt like they could do whatever they want and no one could say anything to them. because they were the boss. And then a couple of stuff happens and they got a new head of the company, well, head of creative in the company, and now we've got the best wrestling that we've had ever. It's gotten to the point now where it not only is wrestling cool again, it's getting into mainstream. Like the WrestleMania that just happened, people always remember WrestleManias, so it's not surprising that people know of WrestleMania. But people were like big news platforms were talking about it. You know, these news platforms that normally would never do something like wrestling, unless it was like the Blimmin' Hogan era, you know, Hulk Hogan and all that, Macho Man Randy Savage. And now they're talking about it again. It's huge. And that's, in my opinion, there was a lot of lucky things that happened that made it to this point. But in my opinion, one of the biggest things was having this rival company there that said to WWE effectively, hey, you can't rest on your laurels now. You have to actively do stuff. In my opinion, it's the same for World of Warcraft, for example. World of Warcraft kind of was just sort of sitting there making expansion and sort of just milking this cash cow. Not to say to a certain extent they're not still doing that, but at the end of the day, like I feel like a lot of MMOs do that. That's the whole point of them, is to keep you playing so that they can keep milking you for the monthly subscription or in-game like purchases and stuff. But as soon as Final Fantasy XIV started coming to the limelight, and you saw a lot more people effectively around the Shadowlands expansion effectively making the jump and going, I'm sick of this so much that I'm going to jump into a new MMO that's completely new to me, that I don't have this established guild in that I've been playing for like tens of years, just because I don't feel like you consider my time worth anything. That's what it became in World of Warcraft. It became, hey, if you're not playing like within 30 to 40 hours of this game, then like you're not going to be able to catch up with everyone else. Which, you know, it's not feasible for people that have... It might be feasible for like people that are at school. It's not feasible for the, you know, 40-something 9-to-5 office worker that at the end of the day was increasingly becoming their audience, because no one new was joining because of the grind. And now we're starting to see like the latest expansion for World of Warcraft was generally considered one of the best recent ones they've done. Added in a lot of interesting things. There's an increased sort of like appeal, like from social media, to try and make them come across as being different. And especially with the acquisition by Microsoft and the changing of the boss at the top, increasingly they're trying to separate themselves from this image that people have of them of being this, you know, this company that doesn't care about you. And that's, I put that to having rivals, because they didn't have a rival for such a long time. And although, like, you know, you may like one or the other, just having these two groups fighting means the us have much better time. The whole thing with monopolies, right? Whenever somebody has a monopoly on something, you'll find that they can do whatever they want, and then they start rinsing you for everything they have. From what I can gather, it's what happens it's happening in America now, because of all the companies seemingly going, hey, you stick to your territory, I'll stick to mine. There is literally like nothing you can do if you're a general consumer to not just use whatever is given to you by whichever company has your territory as their territory. You know, has your state as their territory or something. You know, it sounds like it's a horrendous situation. I mean, we don't have it to the level of that here, but there is a certain part of, like, at the end of the day, BT owns all the lines, and so no matter who you're getting it from, they're getting it from BT, very likely. And there is other companies, other big companies, but BT's able to always have the best product. And so you if you want fast speeds, I mean, for me, for example, I've been talking about this constantly, but I switched to Virgin Media, and they have access to these lines, and the speed's just gone up by like, it's gone up by like 10 times. Like, I'm not even kidding, it's 10 times as fast, according to like speed tests and stuff. Howard, like, it had to the point where like the person who's whose job it is you're supposed to go to them to cancel your stuff, and it's just their job, supposed to stop you, right? They're supposed to either try and give you like special things to keep you with them, or like, you know, they're supposed to do something to stop you from leaving. It literally said, hey, I have nothing to give you. You should just leave and come back to us when we have faster speeds. When they're saying something like that, you know that there's probably something wrong going here. Effectively the only other solution is saying we can't do anything. I wonder if this railgun's too powerful, because I'm not actually like doing much. Like, I'm not very good at dodging attacks, and yet I'm sort of like dominating here. Like, I know I said dominating here when I just got hit. I still count this as dominating. I need to get the ability to see further. But yeah, I need to watch the Fallout thing. You know, another thing I haven't watched that I've kind of heard nothing about, whereas I feel like its predecessor I heard tons of things about, was I haven't watched, it's not even new now, but the Castlevania animation, the newest season, the one that's not about the characters from before, like, is it called Nocturne, I think? Castlevania Nocturne or something like that? I haven't watched that yet. And I heard good things when it was out, but I just didn't, people weren't really talking about it, which I think is pretty interesting. But I need to give that a shot, but just because it seems interesting. I do worry, based on the trailer I've seen, that they kind of taken one of my favorite parts of the Castlevania show out of it, in the sense that one of my favorite character was Belmont, and I don't think that's a unique angle to it. I think realistically it was Belmont or Alucard were your favorite characters. But I like Belmont because throughout the whole thing, even at the very end, he just felt like a guy. He had the Batman treatment in like Justice League, where you've got like your Wonder Woman, you've got your Superman, and they're super powered, like super soldiers, and then you just got a guy, and he's just there, and he's very good at what he's doing, but he's just a guy. That's what Belmont always felt like to me. Well, I guess I should call him Trevor. That's what Trevor always felt like to me. It's just like, he's just a guy, but look at what he's doing here. Like, a lot of the time, the vampires would focus him. One of the final fights in one of the seasons, there's a bunch of these elite vampires, and there's 4 of them, and then and obviously there's only the 3 of the main characters. Do they double up on the magician lady who has a mastery over like every element? No. Do they double up on the son of Dracula who has the incredible powers of being vampiric powers and has been trained in the sword and is incredibly super strong and super regenerative? No, they don't double up on that guy. They double up on Belmont, who's just a guy with a couple of magical items. And there's only, in fact, he might only have 1 magical item. But he's been trained to fight you guys. And he's... Not only has he been trained to fight you guys, he's very, very good at using all these weapons that were trained to fight vampires. And so they double up on that guy with their magical abilities. There's like a necromancer, there's like this shadow wraith guy. And they're not going after the half vampire son of the progeny of vampires. They're going after old guy with a like a flail, you know? And I worry, based on what I've seen, that they kind of just went like, and it makes sense, really, in the bloodline whole thing, but they went from, hey, he's just a guy with magical weapons, to, nah, he's got, like, magic, because obviously his either mother or ancestor would have had access to magic. So he's got magic, and he's got X, and he's got Y, and it's like, oh, no. That's not really what I wanted. I like average guy that just sort of shows that, like you can beat these dudes as just a person. And they give him the last hurrah. It's not blimmin' Alucard that deals with the final boss. It's good old regular dude. And it's rare, actually, because I was talking about this with one of my friends. And a lot of the time, I don't like those guys. I don't like regular Jim. A lot of the time, I'm very much one of those. I mean, I'm a power fantasy guy. I like my character winning at the end of the day. I like them struggling. Don't get me wrong, but I don't want them losing a lot of the time. I want them winning. And so it's rare for me to get on the side of people like this, but I guess he does win a lot of the time. If I want to be fair, he does win most of the time. But yeah, it's I need to watch a lot of things. I've been really far behind on these things because I don't know, I've been getting more into games being my relaxation instead of TV. Which, I mean, not bad, because I used to be really bad at, like, actually playing anything new. One of the other reasons why I started doing streaming, actually, was because at the end of the day, like, if I have on my schedule that I'm going to be playing X, I'm going to be playing X instead of just sort of relaxing here, turning my brain off and watching a video I've probably seen 1,000 times. I'm not even kidding. I've watched the same video multiple times. In fact, I have a watch later playlist that half of it is not things I actually haven't seen yet and I'm wanting to watch later. Half of it is literally stuff I've watched once and I'm like, I could watch it again, and I just have it on the list for if I don't know what to watch, I'll watch this again. Especially over lockdown, over COVID times, like that was literally all I did, was I'd watch stuff that I'd already seen 1,000 times again. Do I think it was right to do that? No, 100% not. I still did it. I think there's a lot of things I wish I'd done over lockdown. I wish I'd started streaming over lockdown, if I'm being completely honest. It would have been such a more useful part of my, use of my time. Instead of just sort of sitting here watching videos, you only think about these things in hindsight, but like, blimmin' hell, I could have been doing something with that time. That is literally the time to be doing your hobby, but I just didn't have hobbies at that point. I still don't arguably have a hobby. Like, you could call this a hobby, and I put in as much time as you'd probably expect a hobbyist to put in, right? But still, it's arguable. But yeah, I don't know, it's interesting. I do think back to the lockdown times and have a lot of regrets, but I've stopped sort of like obsessing over that stuff, because if you start obsessing about that stuff, you just don't sleep. And I love my sleep. I know it's kind of stupid that to be the focus, and it should be like, oh no, because you just have better mental health. That is a part of it, but I love sleep. It's my favorite thing, and it has been all my life. And if I can't get a good night's sleep, then like at the end, I'm just going to be very, very sad. And so that is a good enough thing to just stop me from overthinking. Although I have, speaking of overthinking, I have been overthinking what to do in Rogue Trader, because if you haven't watched it, then don't worry about it. But effectively, I don't really blame you. But effectively, what's happened is I'm in a situation where they've done the whole what you do in like a sequel to a game where you're playing the same character, where they've gone. That was horrendous, by the way. They've gone, hey, let's get rid of all of your not all your abilities, but all of your equipment, all of your blimmin' what's the word? Get rid of all your abilities, get rid of all your equipment, get rid of all your companions. Good luck. The problem is, I realized very early on, the equipment and my companions were kind of what was keeping me going, making me dominate, because I can't deal with everything without my companions. And there are people that have... Look, there are people that are like... Because I've been looking this up just to see if people are in a similar situation to me. And generally, half the comments are these really useful comments that are like, I'm not having a problem, I made this build and this build makes me functionally invincible, blah 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 blah. And I'm like, great, how does that help me who didn't know how to mid-max my character? And so I'm stuck here actually having a problem in this fight. But the other ones are just like, I found out something that I was going to keep like a surprise and like act as if I'm surprised when it happened, but I'm not good at lying, so I'm just gonna be straight up. I found out that like a special thing happens in a combat if you wait a bit, and it can help you effectively win the combat. And so that's probably what I'm gonna do. And if that doesn't work, then I'm screwed. Like it'll borderline get to the point where I'm like, well, I have to stop playing. I got really worried after that. Well, it's weird. I didn't get worried after the session ended for Rogue Trader because I was on a high of like somebody actually talked to me and they thought it was worth watching me for like 2 hours. You know, that's blimmin' insane. It sounds like just numbers when like statistics when you hear it in like people talking about it. But when it actually happens and you're like, somebody thought I was good enough to watch me for 2 hours, it's blimmin' insane. It's like when you look at a tweet and it's like 20 people have looked at that. It's like, if you just look at the numbers as numbers, it's just like, oh, it's just 20 people who looked at it. If you think about it, it's like 20 people looked at my message. Spend the time to actively look at my message. That's insane. But yeah, after the fact, I'd say around Thursday, I was like, okay, I hope I haven't hit that point that I hit in, Pathfinder. It might actually have been Act 3, which would be hilarious, where, now that I think about it, it was a very similar circumstance. I was put in a different dimension in a world that I wasn't familiar with, and I was asked to fight in an arena. And there's a lot of similarities actually now that I think about it. Anyway, I was hoping that it hadn't got to the point like it did in that one where I was just like, I can't progress because my build isn't good enough. And isn't there some special thing I need to do? I just can't progress. But yeah, it's I think it's fine. From what I've seen, there's just a specific thing I need to do, which I probably would have figured out if I had not given up as easily as I did. But we'll see. We will see how it goes. I realised, by the way, I know this is not the Rogue Trader stream, but I just wanted to get it out there so that I have a stream here that I can remember and go back to if I forget. I realised why Pascal wasn't brought and it was instead Jay. It is because I had her on the mission because of the companion mission I had done previously. That's the logic. So I didn't even check, but it defaulted to what I'd made the party last, and what I made the party last was for that companion mission, where you had to bring her. When did I lose my second life? Like, I know I just lost a life then, I saw that, but what about the second life? What about second life? It's probably fine, right? I mean, I haven't even gotten to the... I've lost all but one life and I haven't even got to the blimmin' first boss. That's slightly worrying, if I'm being honest. I think these streams are probably the hardest streams for me, because I don't have something really obvious to look at and go, hey, I can talk about X, or I can talk about Y, you know, it's... Because at the end of the day, there is nothing here to talk about. I could talk about my build, but at the end of the day, my build, it would take like a couple seconds. My build is attack speed, ricochet, and a bunch of plasma related stuff because I saw that I was going down that route. That's it, right? I have been thinking for a bit though about what I should do in terms of, should I go the VTuber path that my friends have gone, or should I go just with a like a camera? I've talked about this before. I've talked about this endlessly because it's kind of important, right? I think to a certain extent, people are not going to be as into me until I have something there that they can represent my voice, put like a face to the voice, the incredibly stuttering bad voice. Like and for a certain amount I was using like the logo in the to appear whenever I talk, and I will be doing that until I get something else. I just forgot today, and I'll be honest, it's chill. I might just not have it in this one. Killing an enemy with a wildfire decreases the go up. Sure. But yeah, I need something to represent me, right? But whenever I look at getting like a model or a PNG, you know, it'd probably be a PNG with me because I'm kind of scared of going the VTuber route. Especially with the prices that some of them are. The problem with it is like, okay, well then, as soon as I've gotten that model, I've spent all that money for that for the model or the picture or something, or the avatar for me. What do I do if I don't like it after a month? You know, at the end of the day, I've done stuff before where it's been really hyped. I've been really hyped about something, and then after like a month, I'm no longer hyped about it anymore. You know, I've gotten over the hype. I do it with games, I do it with products, you know, franchises. So would it be too weird to do that with anything else? I don't think it'd be weird. So I'm stuck in a situation there, and then it's like, okay, well then why don't I go the whole route of like just have a camera? But for one, I need to get a good camera. Oh, I need to itch my nose. I need to itch my nose. Okay, I'm itching my nose. One, I'd have to get a good camera, right? Which would cost a decent amount of money, which I don't really have access to. Now, I'm sure you can get a good one for like maybe 200 quid. Like, not an incredible one, but a good one. But, would I want to... That's still a lot of money, for one. And two, it's like, if I'm going that full way and going that way, do I just go then, okay, well then why don't I just go the whole hog and get myself a really good one instead? But I need to blimmin' itch my nose so much, I don't know why. I should just go fully in there and, you know, spend the extra bit of money to make it actually good quality. And also, I feel okay about showing my face now. Like, I'm in a pretty good way in terms of like, I guess what's the word, like body positivity, face positivity. I'm pretty good at that at this point in time. But who's to say that's going to be true in like a month or a year? Or like, I've committed at that point to I'm going to show my face, and it to me feels like, okay, well then you can't go back on that. Even if you can, like, people can see you. It's recorded here. People will know who you are. I need the extra help. So it's like, okay, well then, like, what? Do you like not go that way so that you have that I can't say the word. You have that like screen between you and the people who watch you, so that you can have your own life without people knowing who you are. I don't know. It's a hard situation that I lost the shield at some point and I did not notice. It's like ups and downs for both of them. My nose is very itchy. So I don't know. I'm in a weird situation where I'm not really sure what to do. And then I just keep putting it off, and then I'm like, oh well, I'll do it at X time or Y time, and then, you know, I never actually do it. So I don't know. It's a weird situation at this point, and I need to really come to like a conclusion of what it is. And then like if I go, there's also the added benefit of like getting a camera. It's getting a camera and then setting it up, right? Just connecting it in via USB or whatever, setting it up so that it's where my face is, and then just going, well, hey, and talking into it, and that's it, right? Whereas getting like a PNG, you have to commission somebody. So it's got to, first off, you got to make sure you find someone that you know is legitimate. Because believe me, I have been asked by so many blooming graphic designers have messaged me on Twitter or using the stream chat, and they've been like, hey, do you want overlays, you want X, you want Y, you know? I'm sure half of them are legitimate people, but I also know that half of them are absolutely scammers. 100% of the 100%. That about 50% of them are scammers that are just going to take your money. And in fact, one of the people I was watching Onyx's stream the other day, and one of the other people there who wanted to start streaming and they wanted a model, got screwed over by a scammer on Twitter. Because at the end of the day, that's what a vast majority of them do. They look at an industry that is starting up and they go, cool, I'll send a bot that goes around and sends all of these to like people who say certain words, and then I'll use all of these images that are 100% taken from like other people, and then we'll use them. We'll just use them and trick people, and then, you know, that's the situation that happens at the end of the day. That happens a lot. And so I got to make sure I don't get tricked by them, for one, and then two, I've then got to make some sort of character board for it. Like, and so I've got to go through and I've got to figure out an image for what I want my character to be. And then I'm going to go, hey, I want these eyes, I want this, here's a description of what I want. And, you know, I'm okay at making characters, but like when my friend, for example, was like, hey, why don't we commemorate like this campaign, why don't we get art commissioned of all of our characters? I was like, cool, this is a great idea. I love the idea of having art of my character. He's like, cool, what does your character look like? And I go, the picture I took from an MTG card. I didn't say that to him, but that's what I thought in my head. It was like, I can't think of it as anything but the image I got for him. Because at this point, that's become the character, and that's the end of the day, that's what probably would happen. And I don't know, it's a bit, I'd be a bit worried that I wouldn't get it correct, and then that the draft would come and it would look nothing like I want, and then I'd be too scared to say anything bad about it. So I'd just be like, yeah, that's great, and I'd just be using something I wasn't particularly happy with. Now, is this realistic? Probably not. Is it what I think about when I think about this stuff? 100%. Does it literally keep me up at night occasionally thinking about this kind of stuff? You got it in one. 100%. Like, if you would ask me, because even with that, it's like if you would ask me a month ago, I'd be like, cool, I've got this perfect idea. I want to go with like, go with looking very much like me, except me in looking like, with obviously a better figure, and looking like I'm in some sort of mafia-based thing. You know, Italian mobster style kind of stuff. And I'd be like, that's what I want to go with. And I'd be like, yes, I'm definite. But now I'm like completely different to that. I'm like, wouldn't it be kind of cool if instead of doing that, I just went with me? At the end of the day, I'd want it to look very similar to me. I'm not going to go for like incredibly fantastical. There's going to be a bit of fantastical there, because why not? Like, you've got access to that. But I'm not going to go incredibly fantastical with it. So, like, you've asked me now, I'd be like, okay, what if it was me, but like, to go with sort of my name, I'm effectively like either a druid or like a dryad kind of person, and have my hair be a mossy green color, or like my body be a mossy green, like a mossy green character color, and it's just sort of me, but like as a dryad, you know. But I don't know, it changes every day, and that's why I'm like a bit iffy on like getting a model or a picture made. Just to be honest, pictures, they're like as expensive a lot of the time as getting models, depending on who you go with. One of my friends got a picture commission, and it cost him like almost as much as what I've seen some like VTubers, some people like sell their services of making models and rigging them for. It was almost as much. And so it's like, okay, well, I need to make sure that I know what I'm gonna make, what I want, because I probably don't want to be doing that multiple times. I don't know, it's weird. But I know that like it has to be, it's like the image, having an image there, whether it's me or whether it's you know, and the avatar I've chosen is like the first stepping stone to making my, for lack of a better word, my brand more of a brand, you know, more of a thing where you can recognize it as me instead of just everything else. And I've tried, like, without spending any money, I've tried to make mine relatively unique. I got these free overlays that were kind of cool, and they work with my favorite colors, or some of my favorite colors. And I got like, I made my own logo that I think is really cool, which is just, the problem with it is it's kind of a bit generic. It's just the first 3 blimmin' letters of my my username done in fancy, just the fanciest fanciest font I could find. That's literally it. But yeah, I don't know, it's a weird thing, and it's one of those things where a lot of the time I think about it now, but then when I think about like, okay, what should I do? like later when I'm resting, I'm like, well, I need to rest, you know. At the end of the day, it's a hobby at the end of the day, and I don't want it to be second work, especially after finishing work that already is pretty stressful. I just wanted to get killed by that thing, didn't I? I mean, with what I was doing there, that was stupid. So yeah, it's a situation. It is a situation that I don't know how to solve. On more positive news, though, I started that sentence without actually having positive news. But as I'm talking right now, I'm thinking in my head and trying to find out any form of positive news that I can tell you. Diablo 4's going well. I'm having fun with that. Oh, there is actually something though. There's a game I used to play called Mega Strikers, and I played it for a decent amount of time. Me and my friends were really into it, and I wouldn't say I was good. I was decent at one character, and I had a lot of fun with that game. That's the first time I got blackout drunk was playing that game, but that's a story for a different time. I don't want this. Useless. But yeah, I stopped playing it because the people said they were gonna not update it anymore, and that they were starting off on a new thing. Like, fair enough. It's not doing incredibly well, Omega Strikers, so going on to make something else, fair enough, that makes sense. It's had blimmin' 2 updates since then, with new cosmetics and everything. And so they've effectively they lied to me, or at least they misguided. I got misled by what they said. Because they're still going on strong. I mean, I say going on strong. They don't have a lot of people playing it. They had 600 people playing concurrently. It isn't horrendous, but it's not to the levels of like most games that are that they want you to be playing, especially a free-to-play game. By the way, speaking of free-to-play, if you're looking at this game and you're even mildly interested, give it a shot. It doesn't take long to download. It's free to play. I think, honestly, pound for pound, seeing as it's literally free, it might be like one of the best survival-like games. I've heard decent things about the one that's made by the VTuber agency. I don't remember what that one's called. That's a glitch he needs to solve, I'll tell you that much. Let's get after that as soon as possible. I heard that one's very good, and I think that's free as well, but this one's honestly up there. It's very, very good. It's very, very fun. He consistently updates it, which is insane for a game he's making seemingly no money off. I think it's made by a very small group, I always say that, but honestly, keep boosting this dude's numbers, because this game is really, really fun, and honestly, I'd suggest it to everybody, especially if you like Vampire Survivor or those kinds of games. And it's very much one of those games that you can easily sort of just play in the background while you're actually like listening to a podcast or watching a video that is mostly like sound related. Look, you know, like this can be your second monitor thing, right? People talk about second monitor content. This is a cozy game you can 100% just have as a second monitor game. Even as just like I've done this before where I've been playing a game and I've also had like an idle game in the background. Having this game that you're playing normally and then you have an idle game also in the background that you would just tab over to whenever you finish a run. Hugely fun. I put it up there with like Slay the Spire in terms of games that I have just a decent amount of fun just playing in the background. Things like that, Monster Train, those kinds of games. But in those kinds of games, I do something that I don't think people, well, maybe a lot of people do, but I go into it and I go, cool, I want to do this build at the very start, and whatever happens, I'm forcing it. It doesn't matter if, like, if there's hardly anything that supports it, I'm going to do this. It's like it's such a bad strategy, and I always do it in these games. It's one of the reasons why I don't think I'll ever be incredibly good at games like this. It's because I'm not very good at pivoting. You know, realizing that X is open and going, okay, well then I'm going to make my, what's the word? I'm going to, sorry that I had to, I'm seeing if I could dodge for a bit. I'm going to spend this time looking at the options and going, okay, this one's open, I'm going to go this one instead. I'm very much a, no, I've chosen to go this way, and whatever happens, I'm going this way. I'm very stubborn, is what I'm saying. Anyone that knows me will say exactly the same thing. Stubborn to a fault. Why I think that realistically, if I was in a fantasy world, going off of stereotypes, I would 100% be a dwarf. I'm not actually that small in real life. Kind of like maybe slightly above average in terms of height. But I think in terms of mentality, I'm a dwarf. 100%. Because I hold grudges. I hold specific grudges. I'm very stubborn. If you told me, hey, you've got to stay in this area for the rest of your life, I'd be like, sure. I'd stick in one place forever. And so I'm quite isolationist. I don't like trying new things. That's literally another thing that the a lot of the time is put to dwarfs. I'm effectively just a dwarf. Oh, so they repeat songs. Because this one's the same song, right? Or they've used the same words? Or similar words? But yeah, it's I'm very stubborn. And so I never be good at those kinds of games, because those games expect you to go, okay, this is what I'm getting. How do I make a build around this? I almost got hit by what is probably the slowest moving projectile I've ever seen. Right there. So, that shows how good I am at these games. Why I don't play action RPGs a lot of the time. Because action RPGs imply that you have decent A aim or B reaction speed. Yeah. Also, I'm really looking forward to this. The break on One Piece is over. The break is real. And it's over. This is hurting my ears. Please stop. I mean, it's one way to make me stop thinking about my upgrades. But yeah, it's over, so I'm so looking forward to new booming chapter of One Piece. I know there's probably, statistically, there's very unlikely that anyone watching this who watches One Piece, but it is very, 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 very good at the moment. And you know what? It's weird to say this because it's a generic sort of male fantasy kind of like manga comic, right? But I think it's doing a genuinely good. I think one, it does a very good. unique enough. And I think because it's been going for so long, it's very unique because of how long all the stuff they circle back to, that are like, hey, that was mentioned here, you know, and it's like, oh shit, that's a reference to this or a reference to that. In addition, it does a really good job of, even though it is at the end of the day just this like male sort of like centric fantasy show, well, fantasy comic, does a very good job of making it feel unique and different from everything else, which is interesting to say because it's one of the founders of blimmin' one of the founders of modern sort of manga, and yet it still does well to make itself unique in its own way. One of the biggest things I bring up is there was this big thing that happened that is a big spoiler, but I'm going to talk about it anyway. So if you don't want to hear the spoiler, I'm very sorry. Mute for about like 2 minutes or something. In like 3, 2, 1. There's this big power up that he has called Gear 5th, where he what he does is he has like the power over imagination, and effectively allows him to kind of have like a Tom and Jerry style, like Toon the Force, what people have been calling it, where like he can sort of manipulate his body and other people's bodies like it's a cartoon, like a Bugs Bunny kind of character or a Tom and Jerry kind of character. And what I really like about that power-up is it is completely different to any form of power-up that anyone else in these kind of shows gets. Normally, it's I get stronger, I can punch harder, I can do this, I'm super fast, you know, like they don't normally go into the whole idea of like, no, this dude's just, it's completely different. Instead of getting super serious and like having this super power up, instead he's just laughing and jumping around and doing incredibly goofy and like old cartoon-ish sort of things, which is entirely based on, works with his character, but no one ever thought that's the way he would go, because all of his other like buffs have been like super serious things. But they realized they didn't want to become another Super Saiyan, and so they sort of flipped the script a bit, which I really like. There's also lots of intricate like he's not like subtle in how he's making like references to points in history. He's quite like a history, he really likes history, and he puts a lot of history into what he's writing, which is kind of interesting. For example, like there's a his bullet damage, yeah, sure, we'll take it. There's a thing. Learn to talk, Jack, come on. There is a arc of it called Skypiea that is a not so subtle like allegory to like people coming to the new world and like the overwhelming technology they have and effectively becoming gods of these people, taking over their land and everything. There's also a not so subtle allegory to like religion and like its impact on stuff, and like all these little things that at the end of the day, if you're like a blooming 14-year-old, you're just like, haha, it's funny, rubber man fights guy who has electric. The joke is that none of the electric power is working him because he's made out of rubber. Like that's all you see from it. But then if you actually look at it then, say 10 years later, which I'm able to do because it's been going on for so long, if you look at it again 10 years later, you're like, oh shit, so this is very much like this, and this is very much like this, and okay, this makes complete sense. You know, that kind of stuff like that. It's very much about freedom, which I quite like as well. There used to be, there's this thing in manga called the Big Three, and it's these three big mangas that sort of brought back, kept manga sales going in the biggest company when it comes to like Japanese comics in Japan. It kept it running by just the sales of these, mostly the sales of these big three series. And of them, I've realized the longer I go on that Luffy, who's the main character of One Piece, is just a better protagonist. You've got Naruto, who a fault will try and talk his way through fights that you shouldn't have. They've done unspeakable things, and he's still like, let's talk to them. And to a certain extent, when you're in that situation, you've got to go like, okay, talking's over with. You need to realize that you can't talk with these people, and that what they've done, they deserve death. And then you've got Ichigo, who's the main character of Bleach. And he's cool, but he doesn't really have much of a personality past, I have friends, my friends are in danger, therefore I'm helping them, and that's sort of like the reason I'm helping. Because at the end of the day, that's what it becomes. He originally starts by trying to save one of his friends, then one of the other major arcs, he's doing it because he's trying to save one of his friends. It very much becomes that. And it's cool, don't get me wrong, there's so many cool scenes from it, and the fashion in it is incredible, they look incredible. And I give them credit for having characters in it that are like black and actually have like impact on the story, like on our major characters, because you'd be surprised how rare that is in actual in manga, especially that age manga stuff. It's not brought up a lot, but they're a very isolationist Japan, and because of that, they are like, whenever they see, it also means to a certain extent that they have a certain form of racism there as well. But it also just means they don't have any what's the word? Any interaction with anyone that isn't them a lot of the time. That dude just stopped and didn't hurt me. So they very rarely see those kinds of characters in their shows. But the main character Ichigo is kind of just boring. His methodology, like his like motivation, is a fair motivation, but a kind of a boring motivation. It's like when you in D&D, if you decide to like, if you're trying to like, okay, why are you part of this group? And your only answer is just money. Now that's not to say I'm gonna hate that. Now I want to preface this by saying, if your reasoning is money for a reason, like it's money for a goal, that makes sense. That's a compelling thing that the DM can use. But if your answer is just money, then I don't know. In my opinion, and again, I'm not the leading source in this stuff, and at the end of the day, I'm wrong a lot of the time, so I could be wrong. But in my opinion, if that's where you're going, you are severely restricting what the DM can do to make like you have your character have interesting things to do. You know, if the character's like, I'm trying to do this to save my sister who is incredibly ill, you can do stuff with that. You can, if I'm trying to find like a lost artifact of like my ancestry that was lost in this ages ago by, you know, my great grandfather, then you can do stuff with that. If you just want money, then there's not really much you can do with that. Oh, I won. I guess I'm on normal, so that's not too weird, but it's surprising. I didn't expect it. Right, get this health. Let's see how far we can go. I don't think we'll go much further, realistically, because I think these guys will overwhelm me, but still. But yeah, I just think money is like a it's not it makes sense a lot of the time, because the vast majority of like mercenary style characters will just want money, but it's not an interesting thing to use in a story beat. And it's exactly the same with Ichigo. It makes sense. Everything he does there makes sense. It doesn't mean it's interesting or compelling to see as for your main character, in my opinion. Like, I'm much more interested in a lot of the other characters. Like, I'm a real big fan of there's a character called, I think, Stark. He's one of the villains, and he's supposed to, I think then doing a not so subtle like Seven Deadly Sin kind of thing going with this group, and he's the representation of sloth, and he's fun. I love it in a world of people fighting with swords. The guy who uses a gun, always gonna be my like one of my favorites. They have a similar character in Soul Eater, who I really liked. He was just called like Death the Kid, and he just has 2 guns. He's such a fun character. He's not my favorite character, but he's a very fun character. God, Soul Eater, I strongly recommend anyone to watch Soul Eater. It's such a fun anime that is like kind of dark, and it's like not a normal world, but it's so fun to watch. That's all I can say about it. It's just so fun. Like the battles, the imagery, it's always so fun. And there are deeper meanings to it, but I'm not gonna act as if I'm incredibly smart and know what those deeper meanings are. I stopped watching it because it was fun. It's fun to have like this whole premise of like, hey, one of us is just a human. We're not exactly a human, but we're just a humanoid, and the other one turns into a blimmin' weapon that the other one wields. And it's all about the bonds between them. I wish it would have gone on longer. They did like a sequel that was supposed to be like the characters, but like it's like a bunch of side characters, but also in the same world, and I just don't think it had the same feel to it. They also did like a weird thing at the end where like one of the villains that I would argue is not exactly somebody who is redeemable was just like a character that's pseudo redeemed, which I thought was a bit interesting. Well, I liked it overall. It was very fun. One of the best imageries is that the moon is just like this. This has this face on it that's like, remember correctly, has like blood coming out of it. And it's just such a cool image. It's not dark in the sense of like Berserk dark, but it's like, it's a dark world. Like the world isn't like happy-go-lucky, but the actual like dark stuff to it is kind of a bit more hidden. I think there's a real argument here that this is definitely not jazz. Like in any capacity. Like, this to me is like Ragtown, like the stuff you'd put on like a saloon in like a western, you know? with maybe like a bit more synth added to it. But if I like this, if I played this a bit more peppy and took away the synth, you'd be like, I'm in a saloon and I'm in an olden time thing. You know what I mean? I feel like that makes sense. I feel like that makes some sense at the very least. Yeah, I think one of the problems I have with this blimmin' game, well, I guess it's not a real problem in the sense that this is what happens in every blimmin' survivor-like game, but when I get to this point and there's so many shots going off the screen, even though their shots are bright green and significantly bigger, I kind of lose track of everything in the... Did I just get a shield to then immediately lose it against that creature? I need to find a way to reliably kill them, because they get too close to me and I get scared. I get scared because I don't kill them fast enough. I need to level up more. Please let me level up more. God, I had a situation the other day that I wonder if this happens to other people. So there was a game. Oh, I had no chance there. But there's this game that I was watching someone play. I was watching someone play the new I say new, but the latest WWE wrestling game, right? And they were playing the campaign, and it looked really cool. It looked really cool, and I was like, oh god, I really want to play this. But then I thought back and was like, I thought this last time when the game came out, and then I started playing it and I realized I'm absolutely horrendous with those games, and that like the starting fight I was having problems with, and immediately I immediately stopped playing it and I'd spent like 30 to 40 quid, because that game is, at the end of the day, not an easy thing to it's not like an indie game, it's a AAA game. What are the leaderboards like? Is that... Where am I? I don't see me here. Why did it pop me here? I assume I'm in this rank. Global is this dude called Cat. I'm around here apparently. I don't see my name there, but I'm around here. Anyway, I'd spent like 40 to 50 quid on a game I played like a bit, and then I failed immediately and stopped playing. And so I had to stop myself from going, no, this game looks fun because the guy playing it is good at the game, and you couldn't play it because if you did, you would fail. We know that. You've tried it before. What do I want to try? Did I use the greatsword? I'll go double katanas. Yeah, let's try the double katanas again. Going back to map 1. Have a nice little one to end it. Kind of sounds like I don't know if you can hear that, but that kind of sounds like Spider-Man when he's doing his web slinging thing. That's all I could think of when I heard the sound. Oh no, it takes like 4 shots to kill. That's not good. 6 6 6 6 6 6 6 6 6 6 6 6 6. I'm not very good with the melee weapons, but I want to give them a try. I wonder if, like, do I do 1 2 1 2 1 2? So is it quicker, this one? You know what? Why not? Let's try out radiation. Oh no, that's not doing it every attack. 2 attacks is considered one. 2 hits is considered 1 attack. That's not good. But yeah, I've been. It's funny now that we didn't have the D&D. I've just been hankering for some D&D. I'm so looking forward to next week when we do it, because it is very much a highlight of my weeks. But actually, now that I think about it, I probably should thank my DM a bit more than I actually do. I don't think I thank him enough, because it is honestly a highlight for me. I don't know about the other people, but it is for me. Really, it's just talking to friends and like knowing that there is a game we can play. I think me and my friends do have a problem of like, we like talk loads, but we're not very good at initiating like, hey, we should play X or Y game. We kind of just sort of sit there and talk instead of, it'd be cool to play games together, but I think no one wants to be the person to suggest it. But then as soon as we're playing games, we're having a load of fun, right? Maybe we need to find a new game to play that can be played like co-op or something. I remember I was playing a game with my friend the other day called Sworn that seemed quite fun. Like Hades, but it's blooming co-op. So but that was in early access, so you know that game could be coming out in like blooming. Wait, it could do the early access treatment of never coming out, or it could just come out in like 2 to 3 years. You know, the Larian with Baldur's Gate, it took like a year and a blooming half or something for it to come out. I don't want to get my hopes up about it, but the game was very fun. Very like, it was very Hades, but it was its own game in the sense that any damage is in the burst or increase. Sure, I like that. The combat was very similar to Hades, but the setting was like Arthurian legend. But like after King Arthur is like evil or something, has gone evil. Very interesting. I quite like the Arthurian legend stuff, so it did catch my eye. Also, the beta being free also caught my eye, because look, I'm a cheapskate a lot of the time. I've got to make sure that I like a game before I buy it, and that's why demos and early access like that is always, and betas and stuff are always a bonus to me. Speaking of that, I do want to try out that Overwatch style game that's coming out, but like with Marvel characters. I think that would be really fun to play, especially just to like. One of the things that Onyx, one of my friends, did that I think is incredibly good and is genius, that I think has been not the biggest factor, but definitely a big factor in his incredible rise, is that he found a game that he both liked and had the ability to communicate with a team, and then he would just talk with the team and used his natural ability to effectively just make the majority of them come into his chat. And then over time, some of them stayed. Genius strategy. Absolutely genius strategy. Now, I don't think I could pull that off, because I don't have the natural like charisma that he has. But I might be able to do something similar in a game, but I need to find a game that I particularly like want to get into. And initially I was like Overwatch probably my kind of game, because I like more of a hero shooter than I like a Valorant, which kind of is like a shooter that happens to also just have like powers there. Like they're a secondary thing, whereas like an Overwatch, it's kind of a primary thing. So I was like, okay, Overwatch. But then at the end of the day, Overwatch has a real big problem of being what's the word? A Blizzard product, for lack of a better word. And because of that, it is not well received, and people are almost constantly complaining about it. So I'm like, okay, well maybe not that one. And then I hear about this Overwatch style game that's coming out, and it's got Marvel characters in it, and I think that would be a cool idea. Maybe I can do something similar. I mean, if we've got comms on the team, maybe I can sort of like talk to them and make sure that my name has like PTV on it or something, like, and then maybe people come and watch me, you know? I don't think I can have the same meteoric rise that he seems to be having, because I think a large part of that is just general incredibly good personality and his ability to make friends very easily. But maybe I can have a similar level. Like, it's worth a try, right? I'm not very good at talking with people, but I've tried. Whenever I've tried to do something new, and it's most of the time it's gone well, and I've found something that I've liked that has, like, you know, become my new big thing. Killing an enemy will introduce oil projectiles. That's okay, but I kind of want the... When an enemy projectile is destroyed, they split into 2 player projectiles. I want the deflection more than I want this. But I'm going to take it. It gives damage. For a second there, I thought it significantly slowed down my fire rate, but it's actually not that bad. So yeah, I'd love to try out that game and maybe get... Maybe that becomes my big game. Another one would be like Paladins or something. That's a bit more of a MOBA style game, I think, but maybe getting into a MOBA wouldn't be bad. I just don't... There's not a lot of good, like, press around League of Legends and Dota and stuff. So I don't feel like the pull to play those games. You know, it's they don't oppress me much, honestly, because all I hear from them is that the people are like... The people who play them are incredibly toxic. And I do not want to be dealing with toxic people because I cannot handle it. What will happen is one person will be incredibly mean to me, and then I just will not talk ever again in those games. It sounds like an overreaction, and I'm sure it is, but it takes a lot of confidence to fire a burst of 3 at once. Sure. Because this looks cool. This looks really cool, actually. Because I'm the kind of person, it takes a lot of confidence to actually take the step to do something new. And then if you add on that new thing, when I try and do that new thing, it goes badly. That's never happening again. You know, you've just given me justification to never do said thing again, you know? It's something I want to try to sort of like get out there and actually, you know, do stuff. Maybe it's because I've seen that, like, it works for my friend, and I'm hoping it'll work for me. Hopefully people like my personality as well. I don't know. He's hoping. But yeah, I didn't realize how well this blimmin' this katana was gonna work. I was just messing around and choosing abilities that looked fun. Oh, by the way, I was looking at like RPGs, because I'm constantly looking at RPGs just to find one, just to find something that would actually like work on stream. What do you guys think of maybe me doing like Tyranny? The that RPG. Because it is action RPG, but I can try and get through it by just pausing a lot. And I think that would be fine. And I've tried it before and I've heard great things, but I stopped because of a stupid, stubborn reason that I didn't want to use 2 weapons and it was forcing me to pick 2 of them. Literally that. So maybe if I played it again, I would actually have some fun and I could... If I'm playing it with a friend, maybe... Well, I'm playing it with a friend. But if I'm playing it on stream, maybe... I would have the enthusiasm like I've had with Rogue Trader to actively play it. Oh, by the way, we might be getting double Rogue Trader this week. Because we're still not sure what we're going to be playing on Fridays. So... double Rogue Trader, one on Wednesday and one on Friday, maybe? I know, I spoiled myself. But, I mean, if I've got a free slot, I'm gonna be playing that, because I wanna play it. So it'll be fun to play that, and it'll be fun to see if I can actually... it'd be really funny if the first stream of Rogue Trader this week on Wednesday, it's like, cool, we couldn't get past that sliff bite, and then we just go into the second stream, and it's like, yeah, we're on the same bit again. We're just stuck here. That'd be quite funny. I don't think that's what'll happen, because I'm pretty sure I can figure out a strategy using the items that are around and everything that can get us through that whole situation. I'm pretty sure. I'm hoping. Maybe I'm coping, but I'm hoping. Oh, why did I have to die? Right. You know what? I've got about 13 minutes until I have to come off. I don't think I want to start. I don't want to start a blimmin' thing without the ability to finish it. So instead, let's just talk. Let's just talk with this on the screen. I am in a situation here where, like, I'm kind of getting a bit worried because I kind of feel like I've peaked. And I know this is going to sound insane because I'm saying I've peaked and the best I've ever had is one person talking chat. But what I mean is, I kind of worry that Rogue Trader might be just the best fit for me streaming an RPG out of any RPG that exists. Because I feel like it's going to be a lot harder for me to find a game that I'm A, really hyped to play, B, the difficulty's just about right for me to have fun playing it and have to actually think and read, but not have a situation where like I'm in a like I'm stuck and I have to, like, I get frustrated. But, like, and also, you know, actually keeps my entertainment and also is entertaining for people to watch. I think it fits all of those categories. The only one that, like, is a maybe no is the one where it's fun for people to watch, but at the end of the day, like, I got no way of knowing that because I got no way of knowing that, because at the end of the day, like, that's something that only someone else can know, right? But like, it's so fun to play and stuff like that. Stuff like that feels like it won't come up. Won't come up ever again. Is that weird to say? It's just true though. I don't know. It's weird. I'm wondering if maybe, like, I'm keep searching around, but I just wonder that it won't get better than that. You know, it's, if I have a look at like RPGs, a lot of them, either I've played about half of them, or like I just have no interest in them, and that's really it. There's a bunch of JRPGs that I might give a shot, but I don't know if they're necessarily my style of game, and that's my worry. Because I'd be really annoyed if I spent all of this, like, you know, spent money, or I've spent like several sessions of several streams, and then I find out that it's just not working for me, and I'm stuck in a situation where it's like, cool, but I've spent all this time, and I'm very much one of those people that's like, if I've started something, especially if it's like for something like this, like a project, I want to finish it. I want to get all the way to the end, because it wouldn't make any sense if I skipped it. I've started it, I have to finish it. But I can't do that in the end of the day if I just don't like it. You know what I mean? I don't know. Maybe I'm overthinking this. Right, I just think I'm just going to be rambling endlessly if I don't just stop it here. So I hope everyone's had fun, and I hope everybody isn't annoyed by my ramblings and my talks about literally everything and nothing. I will see you all on Wednesday, where we're doing more Rogue Trader, and after Rogue Trader, more Rogue Trader on Friday. Ooh-wee! I'm really looking forward to that. I'm getting into the plot, and I just want to get through it, but also I don't, because then it'll be done. You know what I mean? Anyway, bye!